Good lord. This has been my worst day in Europe by far. How on earth am I supposed to record today's events? I was cleared from suspicion afterwards, but if I write down those events exactly as they happened, the report would read like a third-rate bawdy novel. Nevertheless, hiding the truth is out of the question. At least Lieutenant Witzelman prepared another hot towel today, despite the commotion. Yeah, what I'm sure they're gonna explain why at some point, but like, what's going on with that? That can't just be out of her good nature. There's something more to that. Considered as always, come what may, I'm thankful to her from the bottom of my heart. It's been a tiring day. And the worst part is, everything that happened was because of one man, Lieutenant Brower, the Fiend. How did he manage to execute such a devious plan? He switched the male and female signs in the shower rooms beforehand, bumped into me as if it were coincidence, and then used his conversational skills to lower my guard. It's really vexing in hindsight. Encountering him near the showers at the precise time I was done with my scheduled activity was suspicious from the start. Yes, he must have went ahead, waiting in the vicinity until I make my appearance. Also, he could casually greet me later. I'm certain that's what he did in order to frame me. Damn him. What tenacity. Cunning. Everything was going well until I tried to escape. What happened afterwards was distressing. I remember the raw fear I felt when Lieutenant Fadenhorst and Lieutenant Vosternacht entered the showers, a memory that will haunt me to the grave. If Lieutenant Fulner had not come up with an excuse, right now it would be inconceivable. Doesn't bear thinking about. Lieutenant Brower was caught by Lieutenant Falkenmeyer. The fact he so readily confessed to his shrewd trick was surprising. I love fucking Vosternacht's face. Even her angry expression, I love it. This astounding display of honesty aside, still hard to believe that such an ignoble man can be a member in good standing of Cerberus. Which makes me think, there might be a deeper structural issue with a force that allows such a disgraceful individual to run rampant. At any rate, today I learned their training curriculum includes various competitions and exercises. If I didn't know better, I could have sworn this was a resort, not a military base. I'm not saying they're slacking off, but the disproportionate emphasis on games reflects poorly on Commander's training policy. The people in this base might as well be athletes, not soldiers. Let's hope they prove me wrong. Day 4. Let's go. God, we're only at day 4? Isn't there 10 days total? What exactly are you up to, Lieutenant? Again, what exactly are you up to? I could ask you the same! My 6th eldest brother, Sukerakura, never heard the alarm clock ring because he always woke up 30 minutes early and turned it off. His example has served me well. It's mere child's play to wake up 1 hour before the morning call. This is what you get from underestimating House Makabe. I see through you, Lieutenant. You intend to play the same prank on me again. It's only par for the course I was going to be ready. Lieutenant, is waking others before the morning call a Bundeswehr custom, or something of the sort? That's not something to be proud of. Once again, going in for the hug. No, please. I'm not the one who's trying to play the same prank over and over again. I demand some answers. Don't dodge the question. Why must you come to wake me up every morning 1 hour before the morning call? Lieutenant Fulner, please answer the question. She dares to ignore me. Inconceivable. I want to protest. I want to protest as firmly as I can, and yet I can't, for that would only come off as a display of entitlement. Wait, is she mocking the Generalissimo of Dover Base Complex? Just like that, the man who stands above all other commanders.
昼食は基地軍総司令と会食。午後からは研修生全員で基地軍司令部中枢施設の視察。今日は夕食まで会えないわね。残念だわ。
It looks like we'll spend the day in the presence of the CO, and that means I won't have time to speak at leisure with my fellow cadets. Nevertheless, I'm sure I'll find an occasion to ask them about the other European forces. It's been 4 days already. Hopefully the others have learned something useful by now, because I certainly haven't. As a matter of fact, there are several things I would like to ask them about. However, if I don't offer my own analysis and opinion on the state of the European forces, any questions I ask will sound like an exchange of empty platitudes, no better than small talk. The one thing I'm most curious about is hearing what they think of Dover, namely if they share my opinion that this place seems best suited for athletes, not soldiers. To tell the truth, the prospect of meeting with other cadets fills me with uneasiness. What will become of me if they have spent their time in a proper training environment, with their skills having developed far beyond mine? Inconceivable. Such a defeatist attitude is inconceivable, coming from one who carries the blood of Makabe. He conquers who conquers himself. It doesn't matter if their training has been superior. It doesn't matter if their skills leave me in the dust. Irrespective of how talented they may be, no one will fight my battles for me. So say the teachings of my second eldest brother, Kojiro. Clearly, I must reflect on his words. Reflection complete. My mind has become clear and serene. Not a speck of lingering doubt remains. Whoa. The clarity of my thoughts dazzles even myself. I see what I must do now. Without shame, I should expose my lack of understanding and ask for instruction. As my fifth eldest brother, Jogoro, used to say, there is no such thing as a stupid question. I must not let the specter of humiliation and failure hurt my self-esteem. If I value my pride so highly that I need to fear the other cadets' scorn, my mental growth will soon reach an end. And if they are indeed ahead of me, then all the better, for I will proactively partake in their knowledge and use it as a springboard to reach the next level of my personal growth. Do not be impatient, Seijiro. House Makabe has gone through ages of war alongside the shogunate. There is only one way forward. There's only one way forward.
どうしたの、清十郎？ぼーっとしちゃって。まさか熱が？
Oh, I'm sorry, my mind was somewhere else.
そうだ。そういえば明日からはいよいよ欧州統合火力演習の研修プログラムに移行するわね。
Sure.
清十郎楽しみでしょう。
It is. I can't wait, yes. That's right. I'm so worried about my troubles at hand, I almost missed the forest for the trees. From tomorrow until the last day of my exchange, the centerpiece of my stay, the European live fire exercise. It's formally a training exercise, but the term is misleading. Not only will live ammunition be used, but hand-picked units from the European forces will also participate in the event. This is it. This is when I finally get to see Cerberus and the Typhoon in action. The fire burns inside me. A fire so strong not even the flames of hell could compare.
やっぱり清十郎はええしね。火力演習と聞いて顔つきや雰囲気がいきなり変わったわ。
It's only natural, Lieutenant. I've been looking forward to seeing Cerberus in action since the moment I set foot in Dover, and the day has finally arrived.
そう。清十郎が喜んでくれてよかった。
But of course, I wouldn't dare call myself a surface pilot cadet otherwise.
よーし。清十郎が喜ぶなら私ももっと頑張らなきゃ。
I expect great things from you, Lieutenant. Wait, no. It's her fault I had to wake up 1 hour before the morning call. Why am I getting all fired up together with Lieutenant Fulner? She got me caught up in her enthusiasm. Unbelievable. And besides, it would be unrealistic to expect her to play a leading role in Europe's premier fighting force in the first place. In the face of real combat, experience trumps skill. It seems highly unlikely that a pilot who was commissioned only 6 months ago could play a vital part in such a major event. But to be fair, I shouldn't jump to conclusions. My assumptions may very well be mistaken. I haven't even so much as glanced at the Lieutenant Simulator results. Right now I'm in no position to accurately evaluate her performance as a surface pilot.
それじゃあ少し早いけど朝食に行きましょうか。食後はメインゲートの車寄せまで送るわ。
That's fine with me, but why are we holding hands?
え？清十郎が迷ったらどうするのよ。
Lieutenant, this fortress base is state-of-the-art. There are countless signs and maps at our disposal here. I simply fail to see how I could get lost.
じゃあ迷っても迎えに行ってあげないんだから。
This woman, what a pain. Good grief, she's too nice for her own good.
どうしたの清十郎。中3回で何かあったの？
No, it's...
やっぱり総司令の講義が面白くなかったのね。
Why did your mouth stop moving? No, I wouldn't say so. It was fine, but nothing special. It's just the accumulated stress is getting to me. I'm not lying when I say there wasn't anything special. That's precisely the problem. If there was something noteworthy, it's that my worst fears have came true. Everyone shared the same opinion, that there's absolutely nothing to be learned in Europe. The consensus was that the Europeans were lacking in terms of discipline, at the very least when compared with the Royal Guard officers. It was disheartening to find out people could be so laid back on the front lines. As far as I can tell, the Bundeswehr has the loosest disciplinary standards. Not that the European forces seem all that different, but on what the others had, based on what the others had said. Why does your face look like that when you say that? You look like you're like, by the way, Seijiro, did you make any friends during lunch? How was it? Did you guys have a good time? Like, why does your face look like that? Yes, it was very interesting. I was rather surprised to find out how different the Royal Guard and the European forces are, though. As a Royal Guard cadet, what I want to learn about in Europe is the mindset and the way of life of those who have survived on the front lines. What I desire most is to meet veterans who have lived through fierce battles and to benefit from their expertise. Such knowledge would be invaluable when it's my time to defend the Empire. I should have known from the start there wasn't much to learn from my fellow cadets, and tempered my expectations accordingly. On the other hand, I did hear a somewhat interesting story. There was this one cadet, though. He was dispatched to the French forces and supposedly has it the worst among us. Among us? He told me he was assigned to a female officer, one quite short for a Westerner, and that she worked him to the bone. In a sea of resignation, only his eyes were shining with determination. Must be because he's going through a taxing training regime, albeit different from what's the norm in the Empire. It's likely he'll be the only one to bring something of value back to our homeland. The cadet said her position is often called by a peculiar designation, the gunslinger. Apparently she's a close-range specialist who uses 4 assault cannons at the same time in high-speed dogfights. It sounds contradictory for a close-quarter specialist to rely on ranged weaponry, but maybe it's a viable tactic in a TSF with lots of close-range combat armaments. The way surface pilots respond to TSF developments with new combat positions is a fascinating topic. I would love to see her in action during the live-fire combat exercises. This unit has the luxury of housing 3 of the 7 heroes, but they are so far removed from everyday life that I can't possibly gain any particular insights. Might as well be learning from a textbook. Considering those I spend the most time with, well, I believe Lieutenant Falkenmeyer could teach me more about chivalry. That alone does not justify the expenses of sending a cadet abroad, however. The hard-earned taxes of imperial subjects are funding my stay. I must learn something of importance and take it back home, else I fear this will end up as nothing but an exercise in wasteful spending. It's high time I start acting on my concerns. I might as well start with the person closest to me, Lieutenant Fulner. Surely she has valuable experiences to share. Lieutenant Fulner, would you mind if I asked you a personal question? Could you tell me more about your first battle? The day I experienced my first real battle draws near. Lieutenant Fulner has survived the 8 minutes of death. I want to hear what it was like. Well, I mean, if you don't want to talk about it, you could tell me about the time when you were commissioned instead. It's just that as soon as my training period ends, I'll be commissioned. And since the Empire is one of mankind's front lines, I'll stand on the battlefield shortly thereafter. That's why I would like to know how you felt the first time you experienced actual combat, and how you faced the 8 minutes of death. I'll soon have to do the same after all. I hope I'm not asking for too much. I heard Lieutenant Falkenmeyer was chosen as a Storm Vanguard right after being assigned to the unit. The account of a pilot who isn't a natural-born genius should prove far more valuable to me, though. Learning about Lieutenant Fulner's experiences should be perfect for my purposes. She's been assigned to Cerberus, which means she must be an exceptional surface pilot in her own right. That would be much appreciated. The infamous 8 minutes of death. The term stands for the average time a new surface pilot lasts in his first real battle against the beta. In other words, most of them die before 8 minutes have passed.
兵士になって国連軍の施設で研修を受けてからこのドーバー基地に配属されたんだけど、私も越兵訓練で居並ぶ台風を初めて見た時はすごく綺麗な機体だなって見とれてた。
So the lieutenant felt the same way as me when she first saw the typhoon.
それから数週間の訓練は とにかくついていくのに必死だったわ。セルベルスでやっていくのだから辛いのは覚悟してたけど、予想以上でストームヴァンガードになるんだっていう思いだけでなんとか耐え続けてたわ。でもなれなかった。適正試験の結果でね、私にはインパクトガードが向いてるんだって。
Is that so? Storm Vanguard, a position reserved for a select few, and the most dangerous role on the battlefield. They're the leaders of any charge against the beta, the star players, so to speak. Only the elite of the elite can hope to fight in this role.
ああ、勘違いしないで。別にインパクトガードが嫌だっていうことじゃないから。まあ確かにその時は毎晩一人で泣くほど悔しかったんだけど、不思議なものね。やってみると意外に気に入っちゃうんだから。
I see. Please, go on.
ポジションが決まって2ヶ月くらい経って、とうとう初陣の日が来た。その頃はまだストームヴァンガードに未練タラタラで、ヘルガが本当に羨ましかった。でも実戦に出たらそんなことを気にする余裕なんて全くなかったわ。私がやったことはただひたすらに弾を撃つだけ。情けないけどそれが精一杯だったわ。なんでかな。シミュレーションを何度もこなして覚悟だって決めて、今日はやるんだって準備万端整えて挑んだのに、だけど全然ダメ。命令も指示も猟奇の応答も聞こえるの、頭でも理解できている。だけどそれはね、体には全然伝わらなかった。戦闘が終わっても全然気づかなかった。小隊長に撃つのをやめろって怒鳴られて、やっと我に返ったの。操縦桿から無理やり剥がした手のひらに現実感が戻ってきて、やっと時計を見ることができたの。時間は戦闘開始からたった12分しか過ぎていなかった。そこで私は自分が死の8分を生き延びたことを理解したわ。気にしないふりをしていても心のどこかに重くのしかかっていた死の8分は私の知らない間に過ぎてた。これが私の死の8分。ごめんね、全然面白くなかったでしょ。
No, it was very insightful. I appreciate your candor, Lieutenant. It wasn't some grand heroic tale, but a down-to-earth account of what a regular, freshly commissioned pilot went through. That's what makes it so valuable for someone like me. I have to admire Lieutenant Fulner for having the courage to share a painful experience like that. She wasn't trying to embellish her story either, no matter what I might think of her. She is truly too nice for her own good.
清十郎、昼間に友達と何かあったの?
Yeah, you gotta be upfront with her, my guy. Come on, homie. No, homie shit. Nothing happened. It was the usual.
そう。急に死の8分のことなんて聞いてきたから、なんかあったのかと思って。
Come on, be on that homie shit, my guy. Well, perhaps frankness would be the best policy here. I realize now I set my expectations too high after hearing all those anecdotes about the fierce battles taking place on the European front. The European forces are clearly very professional. They're not to blame for this disappointment. I feel only I am. Like I said, there wasn't anything special, but truth be told, there's been a lot on my mind lately.
よかったら聞かせて。
Yes. Be on some homie shit, you tell her. Lieutenant Fulner gave a stunningly honest answer to my question. As a samurai and a scion of House Makabe, it's my duty to return the courtesy, yeah. I touched a bit on the subject earlier, but that cadet who was sent to the French forces had a glimmer in his eyes, unlike the rest. It's hard to explain. He felt different from everyone else somehow. As in, I could tell he was satisfied by his experiences here. He was brimming with self-confidence. If I have to be completely honest, the more I listened to him talk, the more I started to worry. That's why I brought up the question.
ねえ、清十郎。そのフランスの士官ってベルナデットっていう名前じゃなかった?
What's with the sudden change in attitude? She seems so uncharacteristically serious. It's almost as like she's transformed to a completely different person. I don't quite remember, unfortunately, although I believe her last name was Riviere, or maybe Riviera.
その友達、運が悪かったわね。
Huh?
その女はね、口うるさくて高慢ちきでいつも偉そうで、戦闘中も文句ばっかり言ってるティガーよ。
God damn. A tiger? What? Are y'all connected somehow? Y'all know each other?
小さいくせにやたら迫力があるっていうか、いちいち嫌味っぽいのよ。でね、乗ってるラファールがまた品がなくて、薄紫の機体にバラのパーソナルマークとか入れちゃって。あ、ラファールっていうのは台風の柄を悪くしたような機体ね。前に話したでしょ。まあイルフィ、それは誤解ですわ。ルナ
Ladies.
いいんだ清十郎。公の席でもない限り私たちに敬礼はいらんぞ。
Yes, understood. Hi Luna. Bye Luna.
何をやっているイルフリーデ。戦術機の話など。
ごめん、リビエール少尉の話をしてたらつい。
Whispers in German. Trouble in paradise, perhaps? Oh, right, I forgot. Luna's a huge fucking TSF nut. Of course, she's got to inform me, like, listen, like, it's not as bad as she says. Listen, alright, come on, let me tell you something. Let me tell you about these specs and how they compare. And, like, let me tell you, it's not as bad as she made it out to be. Alright, listen. Oh, and why would that be?
今日の夕食はある。
ごめん。台風もラファールももともとは欧州戦術機計画という共同開発から派生していますの。両機の設計概念は欧州戦術機計画の新世代基礎技術研究や新世代機設計研究のデータがベース。それに機体の運用や戦術がほとんど同じなのですから。
Yes, I'm familiar with the basics. We studied the history of TSF development during our training period in the Royal Guard.
しかも実戦配備はラファールの方が早いのにイルフィは分かってくれなくて。だって途中で計画から抜けたくせに同じようなものを作るなんてずるいわ。清十郎も納得いかないわよね。
Now that you mention it, I remember noticing that Typhoon also strongly, very strongly, resembles the Japanese Fubuki. Any thoughts on that, Lieutenant Fulner?
清十郎、それは。
This is checkmate. I see through you, Lieutenant. You don't want to talk about TSS with Lieutenant Fitzleben, but you also want to complain about the Rafale. And so you foolishly try to get around the problem by using me. Avoiding direct confrontation with Lieutenant Fitzleben by handing the topic over to me. A masterful plan. However, you wrongly assumed I'm averse to talking about DSS for hours. That was your undoing, Lieutenant Fulner. Behold the mighty technique of returning the topic to sender. How will you respond, Lieutenant? I'm sure your competitive spirit must be flaring by now. And here's the truly devious part. If you answer, it'll become impossible for you to escape Lieutenant Fitzleben's innocent prattling. Now, for the finishing touch. Following your reasoning to its logical conclusions, couldn't the Typhoon, the Rafale, and the Gripen be considered more imitations of the Fubuki?
清十郎君、なかなかやりますわね。ルナ、清十郎?
Look at me with those eyes full of dread all you want. I will not be deterred, for a samurai always returns the kindness he has received.
清十郎君の例えは極めて暴論に近いものですけれど、イルフィの考えがそのくらい乱暴だということです。
Yeah, fill us in, Luna.
いや、それは分かってるのよ。自分でもちょっと言い過ぎたってね。助けてヘルが。
さて、食事を取りに行くとすると。
Hell yeah. I was like, well, I'm out of here.
一人にしないで。私も行く。
I'm disappointed in you, Lieutenant Fulner. Do you really intend to let that stand?
そんな。
That devious look in Luna's eyes, I love it! I have to say, you're very knowledgeable about TSFs, Lieutenant Fitzleben.
いいえ、戦学でお恥ずかしい限りですわ。
By the way, you said my statement was close to the absurd. I love it. This has to be about the development of the next generation European machine, correct?
水面下で日本の技術提供があった。そうおっしゃりたいのでしょ?
It's not exactly a well-kept secret, Lieutenant. I would love to hear your thoughts on the matter.
清十郎君、聞いても後悔なさらない？あの二人、ちょっと怖いかも。
よせイルフリーデ、見てはいかん。巻き込まれても知らんぞ。
私は日本の技術提供を否定しませんが、実際の導入範囲は極めて限定的だったと考えていますわ。
Interesting. Please elaborate.
ファントムやタイガー2の回収、発展型の開発でヨーロッパには相当の技術蓄積があったこと、欧州戦術機計画が停滞した分、長期にわたって基礎技術の研究開発が進められていたことなどがその根拠。
So how exactly would you explain the resemblance?
それは最新の理論、技術トレンド、開発国の戦略地政学的な位置と要求仕様で決まるもの。データ大戦における日本とヨーロッパのそれらはことごとく似ています。であれば機体形状の類似は自明です。
Indeed, there's some truth to your words. I won't deny that geostrategic and tactical concerns play a huge part in TSF design. Lieutenant Witzleben has a good point. The basic specifications should be similar for the EU, the Soviet Union, and other Asian countries. It's true that Imperial TSFs focus on hive capture operations, but that's a minor point. Few differences stem from national idiosyncrasies and diverging environmental operational requirements. On the other side of the spectrum, you have American TSFs. They're completely different in terms of design and doctrine, because their fundamental purpose lies elsewhere. Your Asian countries put their emphasis on being able to operate on the continent and inside the underground tunnel network of a hive. With supply lines being difficult to maintain and space being very limited, the focus obviously lies on high mobility close quarters combat. On the other hand, the American TSC, oh my god. One more time. On the other hand, the American TSF strategy assumes secure logistics, focusing on their high mobility in order to perform low-risk, long-range bombardments, as well as the ability to adapt to all situations or terrains. What is it, Lieutenant? What are you talking about?
私は忠告したからね。知らないわよ。怒って途中退場なんてルナは許さないんだから。
Despite the regrettable events that transpired yesterday, Lieutenant Witzleben remained as kind as ever, providing me with another wet towel. I don't know if something like this will be enough to repay her favors, but as long as it makes her happy, Makabe Seijiro will be her friend through thick and thin. That's actually a very nice statement. Go on, my guy. You know, I'm about it. Keep going. And as my supervisor, Lieutenant Fulner is duty-bound to remain by my side. Lieutenant Witzleben, it seems Lieutenant Fulner has a pressing question. Hell yeah.